This is probably one of the verdicts after a game that I least look forward to. There are no words for me. I am really struggling to formulate a sentence to describe what's happened, what's going on. It's important to take this in a little bit of context. It's currently 5:10, and I know that's quite drastic of me to say, but by the time you watch this, we could be in completely different circumstances, I think. You might doubt it, but there is no coming back from that. I'm sorry. I don't know how you come back from not just the football you've seen, but the reaction that came about because of the football. I don't think you can come back from that.
Some news from League One. Danny Cowley has been sacked by Portsmouth following a run of poor results.
Brendan, your reaction? Danny Cowley's just been sacked.
Absolutely shocked. You won't know until you've lost it. You won't know how well off we were.
I hear your voice every Sunday morning. My daughter Isabella is an avid follower, so she's always.
We should be watching.
Yeah, I'm sure she will watch this now as a consequence. But it's it's a pleasure to speak to you.
You know, I liked him as a person. I thought he was a great guy and did a lot for our football club, a lot more than others have done in the past. And pretty sad, really. But then results, it's a results game, isn't it?
There was always that 50-50 divide within the fan base at Pompey, wasn't there, with Cowley at the moment? He did a lot for the community whilst he's been at the club, but results have not been great. And I think that's something everybody's picked up on, and everybody's admitted that this can't be ignored.
All the stuff behind the scenes, I know I see quite a lot of what goes on behind the scenes, and he's improved every single bit sort of since the first day he's come in.
I can't believe Kenny Jackett had longer in charge than they did.
I really thought the owners were going to give them a little bit longer. Now you can debate whether that's right or wrong.
A sun has set on an era at Pompey.
Am I happy? I don't really think I'm happy. Is it the right decision? Yeah, I think it is.
Be careful what you wish for, but maybe this is the making of Pompey. In a new era, you never know what it could bring. Almost 72 hours on from Portsmouth Football Club announcing the sacking of Danny and Nicky Cowley. Good evening. Welcome along. Nice to have you with us. Happy Thursday, everybody. I said to the gents, I don't think there'll be a dry eye in the house after that. And looking down at my screen, and I can see that's... Aaron's already got his tissues ready. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that. That was a little bit of a kind of... it's a little bit dramatic, wasn't it, James? But I thought we'd maybe sort of take a look back at and see how Fournilwrittenalloverit reacted. And we had some little comments in there from some of these gents. Some voices you may recognise. Two of them were definitely on there. Reese and Barney join us live all the way from their respective dwelling areas. Welcome, gentlemen. I don't know why we said dwelling areas. Barney's also got a little friend with him as well. So we'll say hello to him too. Jack joins us. He's going to give us a bit of a maybe a neutral perspective, maybe slightly biased. I don't know. Over the last couple of years, I might have managed to sway him slightly. So thanks for joining us, mate. Aaron's here as well. We're going to hear from Sam a little bit later on, and he's going to join us for a little bit of opinion. But more importantly, also we've got Gaz's coming as well. We shouldn't forget about that, and maybe Brendan might join us too later on. From about 7:30. But what is most important is that we hear from you this evening. We want to hear what your thoughts are. Who would be your next manager? And we'll get a poll up and running in a moment or two. Right, Reece, you're going to kick us off again, mate, because why not? We'll make it 2 hits in a row. Who will be Pompey's next manager? What do you think?
Oh, it's a tricky one, isn't it, Tom, to be honest with you? There's so many names going around and it's always changing in the betting odds and that. Personally, for me, Chris Wilder, I think he's got the experience. He's done it. He's been in the leagues. He knows how to get a team behind him and push for promotion. So that's the name for me. Do I think it would happen? Well, that's a different question, isn't it?
Do you?
I think it could be done. It's been obviously noted that he has gone out and said that he would be willing to join the club if the ambition's there, which obviously brings another question onto the whole debate of if the Isons do have the ambition to go up or not. So that's a different ballgame altogether.
Sure. We'll chat about that a little bit later on. I will say good evening to everybody. Archie, you got to stop doing this, mate. He said, sad time for Pompey, but hopefully new manager bounce will get you going. Well, we'll put that 449 towards Chris Wilder's new contract. So there we go. Hello to Lewis. Good evening to Jake as well. And Shauna said, don't care until he's in place. Liam Richardson from Darren on Facebook. Harry Redknapp, Chris Wilder. Doubt anything's been said about Ben Garner. Patrick, thankfully not so far. Hugh said, good evening, guys. Can't wait for Saturday. That's also something we'll get a little bit of a chance to get onto later on, is maybe a chat about Saturday. Jeff has said, and the Oscar for Best Actor goes to Tom for the Fournilwritten all over it. Thanks very much for that, Jeff. I hope you enjoyed the opening. Aaron, where's the fish tank? Let's come to you. What's going on?
Well, at the moment, I'm aquascaping it, so I've got driftwood upstairs. So I spent a lot of money on wood and everything, but at the present, I've got my little
there it
tank,
is.
and then I've got my
big daddy one.
Well.
Look at that.
Yeah,
oh,
and it's a bit empty at the moment because remodeling and everything, and waiting for my driftwood to actually set upstairs before I can put it down. The tannins and everything. If you're into fishes and driftwood, you know the tannins make it all brown and horrible. So yeah, treating upstairs. It's been treating now for a month, so I've still got a little bit way to go. So yeah, luckily I've got a spare tank upstairs. So.
And that's not what everyone was expecting to hear this evening. So to the 300 people that join us live across YouTube and Facebook, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Good evening to Barney, who's joined us once again here, all the way from wherever he finds himself this evening. I don't want to reveal your current location, Barney. Nearly a bit of a slip of the tongue there, but we won't do that. Barn, who will be Pompey's next manager?
I think it's looking like Wilder to me, from the rumblings online and word of mouth. I'm thinking it's going towards Wilder or maybe Bradbury. I think it's between those two. Some odd names being thrown in there. Just was doing some research just now and seeing somehow Bob Bradley is in the top 10 of the odds. I never would have called that, but you know, I'm up for a bit of Brad Bobley.
Yeah, David has said Richardson, Wilder would be ideal, but there's not the drive or ambition from the owners. We'll see about that. Mick McCarthy from Matthew Plummer. Thank you for that. There we go. I think there's some interesting ones. Graham said, "Good luck with good luck with your rescape and the fish." Leo said Wilder would be outstanding. Please not Bradbury from plenty of people. Joe on Facebook said, "Listening to Andy Cullen sounds like the candidates are already in the job somewhere. Richard Hughes will play a huge part in this selection. He will go with someone he already knows. Mark Cooper, Gary Caldwell." Thank you very much for that. Well, for the first time this evening, good evening to Jack. Welcome along, mate. Thanks for being with us. We've already mentioned your man Chris Wilder. I say your man. He was in charge at Oxford for a little while. Is there anything you can tell us? What could we expect? Should that be the positive news that we're all hoping for?
Yeah, he was a big part of Oxford United actually getting back into the Football League. So he is a bit of a favourite around Oxford United. I mean, to be honest with you, he wasn't there for a massive period of time, but he did play a big part in his getting back into EFL. There, of course, will be a question mark over his style of play. He doesn't play the best football. I've come on here a couple of times, spoken about style of play and how maybe Oxford United currently don't play very good football. If you're going to have Chris Wilder, you're not going to be playing, you're not going to be playing as good a football as some people maybe will be wanting to. He can play good. Brown was at Sheffield United. He can do that with overlapping centre backs, but it's not the tiki-taka League One football that maybe everyone would want to see. But I think we've had this discussion multiple times on here and in other channels. You know, League One's getting to a point now where do you need to play that type of football? Is it now proven that sometimes you need to play that nasty, dark arts, pretty relentless, ruthless mentality in terms of a style of play to get out of the league? You look at the sides that have done it over the last couple of years. They've had a different edge to them. I think Wilder brings experience. He does bring quality. I think as well, and I haven't seen too many people speak about it, but I think Wilder brings a contact list as well. He brings a good contact list with players. He's got a lot of experience. He's been in the game a long time. He's going to attract people. He's going to want to bring his own players in. You've got a squad. You've got a Danny Cowley squad. I don't want to sort of bring the tears back, but you have got a Danny Cowley squad there, so he's going to want to bring a couple of his sort of familiar faces into the house. Like I say, he's worked at a multitude of football clubs and will have a large, like I say, contact list of people that he'll probably want to try and bring in, and Phil can do a really good job of Pompey if he is appointed. You haven't asked me the question, but I'll answer it while I'm here. I'll be honest, there are candidates that I think are more likely than Chris Wilder, if I'm being totally honest. I think Chris Wilder is still quite a difficult one to get done. Definitely not one that can't be done. But I think there probably will be other candidates that, for me, are probably by looking at the odds and also by looking at the difficulty maybe of getting Chris Wilder into a club, particularly in League One. But we'll have to wait and see. I think he would be a good appointment. He brings experience, like I said. But yeah, don't expect the tiki-taka. But League One is a very different breed completely. So who knows if it works.
We'll see. I've just popped a live poll in the chat, and these gentlemen, Jack was probably watching, so we'll all know what the result of the live poll means. It means that it's definitely going to happen, and it will be revealed in the following hour and a half after the stream's ended. So whatever you choose this evening, ladies and gents out there, that will be the result by and large. And also we're expecting it all to fall apart and it to go the other way that the stream suggests in the next hour or so. Gavin said the owners couldn't wish for a better chance to get the supporters back on side and to prove that all the rumours of them having no ambition are purely just that by getting a proven winner like Wilder. What do we make of this one, Jack? Carl Robertson from OUFC Aiden.
I mean, to be honest with you, if you fancy it, give it a go. I mean, to be honest with you, the problem is, and although, someone is probably having a little bit of a joke there, I've just seen someone else in the chat talk about Grant McCann. You want to be looking at managers that are succeeding. Let's be honest, Oxford and Pompey are in the same sort of boat in the fact that we want to get out of League One. Same with Grant McCann leaving Peterborough. He wanted to get Peterborough out of League One. He's failed to do so. So I think you should be going for managers that, of course, are succeeding or have succeeded in the role that you're looking to bring them in to do.
Definitely. Hugh has said Wilder 1000%. Leo said, I think everyone wants Wilder. He knows how to get a team out of this league. Chris Houghton is one that I haven't heard very much. I've seen it once or twice. Matt has said mixed feelings, to be honest. Great guys off the pitch, but it's on the pitch that matters. I think he's talking about Danny and Nikki going. Bradbury gets it. You can have my season ticket now. There we go. Max has said Wilder or Richardson. For me, maybe Neil Warnock. I think the thing with Neil Warnock is that he I don't think he'd be interested post the end of this season. And I think particularly from what Andrew Cullen's already said to the media in the last couple of days or last 72 hours is I think they're looking for someone slightly longer term that they can put on a long-term deal like they did with the Cowleys. Dylan said Wilder would be limbs next season, back-to-back promotions, then first season in the Prem in 7th for the Conference League. So there we go. That's a bit of confidence there from Dylan, but there we go. Andre said Wilder won't come unless Eisner's prove ambition. Reece, do you think there is the ambition there? I mean, they've some might say they shot from the hip over sort of Monday into Tuesday, and the news took a lot of people, including ourselves here on the stream, by a bit of a surprise. Is this a sign of things to come? Do you see a bit of ambition, a glimmer of ambition shining through?
Well, just like any Pompey fan, I hope so, for a start. I do think, actually, where it was a bit of a surprise to many people, because it's all well and good saying, oh, we need to get them out, and the people that were moaning about the Eisners putting out their finger, realising through social media platforms of what the fans want. But when it did happen, I did have a kind of understanding that, right, so maybe... with the tweets that they put out as well, saying about how they appreciated them as human beings and their professionalism and everything. But there was that time for, urgency to try and get us out of the league. So actually you could think you have to take them for their word sometimes. I know obviously in the past and all the time they've been in charge of the club, we haven't necessarily seen many actions to it. Obviously off the field's different to on the field. But yeah, I believe there is ambition there, and I think it will be proven with the next manager coming in.
Okay, Tony said Portsmouth need to take a step back to take a step forward. Forget this season, get a man in that will bring an identity, bring through youth, and understand the club. Duff for me would be ideal. Tony, I wonder why they've sacked Danny Cowley if they want to forget the rest of this season. I would imagine that I don't know. I feel like they maybe could grab a little bit more out of the season is what the owners were thinking when they pulled the trigger on Danny. Pompey Azza says, "Evening guys, Aaron here. I'm hoping this is the week that sees us start oh my word, a metric rise. Isers has to give a sizable war chest. I feel that our next manager is American Bob Bradley. Roof reckons it's going to be Liam Richardson. We have a 4-0 source that would suggest otherwise, Roof, and I'm sure we'll come on to that in a moment or two. Anthony Barry or Liam Richardson with Michael Doyle as his replacement. Nick Cushing. Thanks, Barney. Go on, tell us all.
I wouldn't say no to seeing my other loves that way. Which way am I that way?
That way.
New York's manager, Nick Cushing, Scouser, went through the Man City Academy, managing the Man City women's team, currently manager of NYCFC. Top bloke, very good bloke, very modern manager. Wouldn't say no to him.
Leo says, I think Wilder is the man, would set things straight with the owner's ambition and knows how to get a team out of this dead league. Jordan, who I'm assuming, as quite rightly is a Sheffield Wednesday fan, I assume correctly, can take Darren Moore from us. That's an interesting one. There we go. I wasn't expecting to see that. Roy Keane from Gav Jones. That's another suggestion. Pompey Vlogs has said we need a manager who wants to win games, have a strong connection with the fans and players, and wants to get promoted to get Pompey back to the Premier League. Warnock would be cracking, but he's on the Argyle board, hiding away in Cornwall at the moment. I think Wilder or even Dean Smith would be cracking for you guys. Big statement of intent. Realistically, Aaron, Dean Smith for you? Perhaps not.
Well, no, I don't know. Whoever comes in, it's going to be difficult for them because Cullen's already turned around and said they've already identified the players they want to come in. So this transfer window, whoever comes in is not going to have a say of any players whatsoever. So he's going to have to deal with what he's got. So then until the next transfer window at the end of the season, then he can actually get his own dibs and everything in it. With the manager situation, I think the Eisners have actually learnt from Paul Cook because he was so in your face and he went back down. They didn't like that. So they went the softy approach with Jacket and Danny as well, because they were so lovable to people at a time. With Kenny as well, he was loved by certain fans, but then he was too nice. Same with Danny. Whatever he's done in the community and everything, it's been fantastic. Absolutely commend the bloke. Hands out. I applaud him for that. But it's the results on the pitch you need. You need that attitude from a manager, the aggressiveness to actually not step on toes and everything, and actually get the players to play for the team. I think we need a manager to come in like that. I think Chris Wilder would be a good option. And even Cullen has even said that they're not even putting aside that a manager's already in place at the moment. So it sounds like there is money to pay out of a contract to get a manager in. And if they're serious about getting us out of this league, I think they're going to have to spend a bit of money just on the manager itself. Only because we can't have a really nice bloke again, because nice blokes don't actually win your matches. It's the attitude and commitment that he needs to do. Chris Wilder ticks all the boxes at the moment, but is he going to really want to come here at Pompey and wait until the summer before he can actually get in his own players? I'm not too sure. It's the same with anyone, really. Whoever actually wants to come in, he's got to deal with what we've got. And at the moment, there's a couple of people in there. Yeah, fair enough. They probably put the rotten apple in the apple cart and everything and got help to get rid of Danny. But are they going to take it from another new manager? Or is this manager going to have the actual kahunas to actually say, look, I'm in charge. If you don't like it, there's the door. So there's so many people and so many names on this coming into Portsmouth at the moment. Yeah, Warnock could be fantastic, but he's retired and he only wants to do until the end of the season. So we need to get someone in to actually be committed for at least 2-3 years, have another couple of windows. But are we going to close off this season, or are we going to get a manager to come in to actually get the best out of these players like we played at the beginning of the season and then make that push? If we can get someone in very quickly, yeah, we're only 9 points off the playoffs, but he needs to get this team buzzing straight away and get the backing from the fans. Because if you ain't got the fans, you're not going to stay very long now, because the Eisners have worked out.
Welcome to the 385 people who join us across YouTube and Facebook. Feel free to leave the stream a like if you're enjoying the conversation this evening. And I should say, I haven't said this before really on a live stream in the last week or so, but subscribe to the channel if you're yet to do so. It helps a lot. And if there's when there is the news, I'm sure these lovely gentlemen and a couple more will be right on the stream, ready to react with you to whoever and whichever name gets brought in. Philip has said, I feel like a name like Chris Wilder will not only boost the fan base, but possibly shake a few team nerves around us this season. Jack and I were having this very conversation earlier on, hopefully giving us a chance to nick a few games this season. Johnny would quite like Daniel Stendhal. Chris Wilder or we riot. There we go. That one's from Rowan. Thank you for that. Matty Taylor or Dean Smith. Anthony Barry. Hadn't heard much on him. I placed a bet on him when he was 33-1. And this is the concern, isn't it, Jack? And we had a conversation. I keep saying we had a conversation about this. Jack and myself filmed a video for his channel, which is linked in the description down below. We're hoping to get it out for tomorrow, right, Jack?
Yeah.
we were chatting about how these odds can kind of swing things, and I think it's why we're treating tonight with a little bit of caution, because actually, someone 20 quid on something, and all of a sudden it really jumps up the pecking order. So we're using the names that are being kicked around at the moment. Anthony Barry's one that's come up literally since we were recording. It was pinging on my phone as late as this afternoon. Just a word of warning on the odds, and perhaps maybe they might be a little bit misguiding at times, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've got to be really careful when looking at the bookies. I remember, just to bring back Oxford United really briefly as an example, the QPR lost their manager in the summer. Well, Robinson was favourite for that job for about 2 weeks, and in the end, he was nowhere near that job. Apparently, he was never in the running. So, odds can be really misleading. So you've got to be really careful. People can be odds on. People can be nailed on. People start trying to say they spotted them in service stations around Portsmouth ready to sign a contract. It's a lot of rubbish, isn't it? Sometimes. So you've got to, of course, take everything with a pinch of salt, and you've got to sort of really ultimately, and like I said, I don't want to repeat everything we said in that video, but a lot of it is a bit of let's just wait and see until it happens, because odds can be so up in the air. There's going to be so many names flying around. One question I'd like to pose to you, and sorry to maybe go off topic a little, not really off topic, but maybe guide us in a different direction really quickly, is what do you want in a manager? What do you want in a Pompey manager? Because where do you want a manager who's going to bring really good style of play, but maybe not do it in the first couple of years? Do you want someone who's going to come in and have that expectation and try and get straight out of League One at first I've asked it? It depends what you want as a manager.
I think I
want one that's going to win games.
Yeah, well, you'd say that, wouldn't you? I think there is an element, and even the owners tweeted about this. There is an element of immediacy to this. I think they're looking at someone who can get a positive result out of this season now in the next 24 games, which I think is a lot to pin on a manager that's had 3 transfer windows of a previous administration and are sort of halfway through the current season that we find ourselves in. I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone on the stream and on behalf of the 400 people watching, but I think someone who shows that they care a lot about the club, someone who can wear their heart on their sleeve, someone who gets the fans, who can have that special relationship with them. I think Danny Cowley's a tough act to follow in that respect. I don't think there'll be many people that will be able to connect with the city and with the fans as well as they did when it all was going well. Reese, attributes in a Pompey manager, any to add? And what were you chuckling about
think you
as
covered
well?
a lot of it. Yeah, the reason I was chuckling is because when Jack mentioned about obviously seeing on social media and all these names flying about and things like that, made me laugh. Is that when he mentioned about someone being down the service station, the Sam Allardyce one at Nick's Monsters Burgers.
Yes, very funny, very good.
That one made me laugh a lot. But
yes.
No, going on to your question, mate. That I think you covered a lot of it, to be honest with you. With Portsmouth, we want somebody that's committed, that knows the city, that wants to get involved with a lot of it, that is proud to obviously manage the club. And I know I joked around when Jack was talking about it, depends what we want, but getting results is just one part of it, isn't it? It's well easy to get that in a short term as well as long term, but you need to make sure that you've got the right man in charge. But yeah, I think you covered a lot of it, mate, to be honest.
Interestingly, Barney, this one's for you, I think, because I think you'll have some interesting reflections on it. It's not exactly the job of dreams, is it? And I know, I think I heard Simon Bassey this afternoon speaking to Radio Solent about how, what a privilege it was to be entrusted with a job at such a big club. Although I think he said that there was the blessing from Danny Cowley for him to take the club forward as long as they need to. But in the current state it's in, it's not exactly, Chris Wilder is probably going to take a little bit of tempting, isn't he? He's not just going to surrender himself and go, yep, I want the job, let's have it, bring on the challenge, because it's quite an ordeal. Big old in tray, as someone once said.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure because I think we think we're bigger than we are sometimes. A lot of our Pompey fans get carried away thinking that we're still the team that won the FA Cup. We're still a team that was in the Premier League for as many years as we were. But as people have said, Wilder would be a statement, and I can see the two working together. Would he be sort of overawed, or what I don't know what the right words are for, the amount of pressure that could be put on him? I don't think he would. Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday, that city is football mental. They have a huge, huge following. So if he coped with them, being a Sheffield United boy himself, I think he's the kind of guy that can take the flack from our fans.
Okay. Tom, what if the Isers are letting these names to spread to just bring in someone we've never heard of before? And there's a very good chance that might possibly happen. I mean, I don't know, to be honest with you, is the answer to that. But I think at the same time, you've got, we said take these names with a pinch of salt, but at the same time, there's every chance that someone's going to just ping out of nowhere and might surprise us. So Lee Bradbury would be a horrible appointment, says Home and Away. No league experience and is not ready to jump to this level in management. Liam or Chris, I'll take. And we say you'll take. Let's have a quick look at the poll at this moment in time. That's went up about 15 minutes ago. So you've had a little bit of a chance. We're going to judge the field. At this moment in time, quite thankfully for many of us, 3% for Lee Bradbury, as who I did put the question, who will be Pompey's next manager. So I didn't really want people to go for the kind of the person that they'd want. I wanted us to try and be as realistic as possible at who will probably be. Next up is Anthony Barry on 7%. I believe that's probably to do with the fact that he's only really been in shouting distance from us in the last couple of hours or so. Liam Richardson has 30% of the vote right now. And then leading the way with a whopping 60% is Chris Wilder. So I think that's quite a good way to judge the fans. And what we should say at this moment in time, Aaron, as well, is big props to Simon Bassey, who you mentioned, someone who has kahunas. I think he's definitely someone who is. He's taken on a role. I remember he was in charge at Barnet for a short period of time, I believe, and he's been was snapped up by Danny and Nicky at the start of, I believe it was the start of last season, to come and join us as a coach here at Pompey. It's a big old ask to throw him in. I know it's an FA Cup game that has no real relevance on the trajectory of our season, perhaps, but big old ask, chuck him in at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and perhaps he's it's a big moment for him and a lot of pressure for him.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially like when the Cowleys actually saw potential in the other season, so they brought him here. They were helping him out. They were developing his skills and his managerial level as well. So hat off to him. If I had a hat, straight off to him. He's been chucked into the deep end, but because he came out with that statement that he had the blessings from the Cowleys, fair play to him. Let's see what he can do. He's going to be there. I reckon there's going to be a new manager in place before our next league game. So we got the FA Cup and the Papa John's next week. See what he can do with the players. But he's got big boots to fill there now. But like with anyone really, to get the fans on the side, instead of giving it all like the spiel and everything, just win games. Win games and you'll win the fans over. So it doesn't matter if you're in the community, if you're handing out bibs for the under-17s, if you're going to the girls or the women's matches, just win games. Just get in there, do the job. And then once you've won about 4 or 5 games, then you can say, look, this is my programme, this is what I want to do. And then you'll win the fans on side. With Cowleys and everything, they all started with winning the fans on side first. But it's the results we need. It is the results. They only had a 43% win ratio as well. So it's just like, just get in there, keep your mouth shut for a while, win the games, then come out and say, look, I am the man to do it. But whoever takes over from him, it's going to be a hard job. And you've got 24 games left of the season. So if they can get us into the playoffs, fair play, but need to win these games and get these players playing again.
Liam said, what are your thoughts on Liam Manning? Anyone done any research on him? Well, Liam, I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear that we have indeed. Jack, you've probably got a little bit of reaction on this because I know you followed the MK Dons story pretty closely, and I'm sure Barney can give us a bit of reaction as well because I know that Liam Manning might have been involved in a certain club that he might recognise as well at one point in his career, and he's looking at me with beady eyes, but I'll let that one stew for a moment. Jack, I mean, he's got a decent CV, Liam Manning. Obviously sacked in December, most recently. Bit of a rubbish season. Starts the season under MK Dons, having lost Harry Darling and the like, and a number of really key players. But he's probably one of the only people to have won Manager of the Month on 2 occasions in the same season. What would you think of Liam Manning in charge at Pompey?
No, he probably is the outsider at the moment. I'm looking at the odds as well. I know we said don't look at them too much, but he is in the shout. He is in the hat, and that's because he's had a really, really good year in League One last season. And like you say there, you're spot on. Harry Darling and Scott Twine leaving. Those two players were absolutely exceptional as an individual basis, but as an actual squad as well, they were playing some really, really good football. And you want a really exciting footballing side who came third in League One last year. Look no further than Liam Manning. Struggled this season, obviously. I think a lot of factors there. We spoke about the departure of individual players. It was a bit of a hectic summer. A lot of players coming in, struggled to gel. It seems as though they it was one of those where I think they needed a new voice. And he unfortunately lost his job because of it. But that's why I'd say it's a little bit of a difficult one, because you're looking at a manager that has been sacked after a pretty horrible League One campaign. So there'll be some people that say, ultimately he hasn't had any success in League One. I think he's got an exciting coach. It's one of those where he's part of the Manchester City and the sort of the Red Bull Foundation, or whatever you want to call it. He did time in America as well as a manager there. So he's a really exciting coach. He's young. He's got good ideas. That's it. Yeah, it's the New York City. Yeah, he's part of that sort of group, isn't it? It's the Manchester group. So yeah, he of course he's learned and coached with really good experienced people, but also quite a good philosophy as well. But yeah, it probably would be an outsider, because unfortunately in League One this season it didn't quite go the way he would have wanted it to.
Barney, can you shed any light just before we go to a link with Sam? We're going to bring Brendan into the conversation soon. Shed any light on Liam Manning and your thoughts on that one?
I've got to be totally honest. I didn't know he'd worked at New York. There is quite a few British coaches there, to be fair. So, but his name I'd missed. No, I didn't know that at all. No, sorry, I'm afraid not.
That's okay.
I can't give any insight
right.
there.
We'll move on. Chris has said Chris Wilder would be perfect experience and previous success. Joseph has asked, what is the only animal that cannot walk backwards? So I don't know what relevance that has to the conversation, but there we go. Lindsay said Liam Manning might not have done well this season, but last season proved with the right squad and funding he could be a class manager. So let's see what that brings. With the right manager, we will be playing the Scum next season. Well, there we go. We've all been enjoying that, haven't we? Up the forest. Was Manning at MK Dons at the same time as Andrew Cullen? I don't know the answer to that one. Oh, Aaron's nodding his head, so we're gonna take that from Aaron as that. And also good news from Chris, who says Louis Thompson is and Brendan's got his head in his hands backstage. Was that not the case, Brendan? Was he not at Oh, he doesn't know. Brendan doesn't know, everybody. He's just giving me a shrug, so he doesn't know. There's some good news on your screen from Chris saying Solomon Bassey's going to give Louis Thompson some game time at Spurs. Jack, we're going to let you go and bring Brendan into the conversation. Before we do so, we'll speak to Sam. Just before we do, mate, any final reflections you've seen, been able to judge the mood on the chat and by what some of the other guys are saying? I know it's very heavy Chris Wilder at the moment, back down to 59% for Chris Wilder on the live poll. And also the kind of, there was a comment on there a little while ago, someone saying, can we leave it a couple of weeks? But in this League One season where games are coming thick and fast, time is not of the essence.
No, it's not. I think the idea and the real consensus I'm seeing from the chat and from everyone here right now, Chris Wilder seems to be the man. He's the favoured shout. Everybody seems quite excited about that. And if I'm a Pompey fan, if I would be excited by it. Although I said at the start, he doesn't maybe bring you the best of football at all times. He, of course, is a very, very successful coach with brilliant experience and can play a really good brand as well with the right players and with his players. So I think Chris Wilder, is the one. I think if you could get your hands on Chris Wilder in League One, I saw a comment earlier and we spoke about it on the video. I mean, it does, it's one of those where, one, it's a statement, and two, it gets other clubs sort of turning around and going, right, Pompey mean business, don't they? And that's a really important thing. So, yeah, I wish you good luck in the search for a new manager. All the best in the future and for the rest of the season. Of course, who knows will be the Pompey manager when we play you next time for the second fixture. It might be Chris Wilder. It might be Sol Campbell. No one knows at this point, do they? But let's see what happens. Good luck in the search, and it's great to speak to you all. And have a good rest of your, what day are we today? Thursday. See you soon.
More stuff from Jack in the link in the description. You go and subscribe to the Young Fan podcast, and there, who knows, there may be a video tomorrow at some point that you might recognise a familiar face in. We're going to hear from Sam now, who's a football writer at Breaking Media. He's also a key member of the Fournilwrittenalloverit team. I started by asking him what he thought of Danny Cowley's sacking. Cast your mind back to 10 o'clock Monday night then. The news breaks that Danny's been sacked as Pompey manager. What was your initial reaction?
Well, I was watching the darts, for one. I was watching the darts with my dad. I'd say one word, was really, really shocked. like really shocked. I didn't think the board would make that decision, and you know how upset I was about the game of the Ipswich. Well, how down I was before the Ipswich game, and how apathetic I was with Portsmouth. And yeah, for me, I'm pleased they made the decision. Obviously gutted because Danny Cowley is a really genuine, lovely bloke who clearly wants the best for this football club, which is probably why he's you know what, he would have accepted the decision gracefully and moved on, because he knows that something's just not working. You can't really go 2 spells in 2 seasons of not winning a game for over 10 games. That doesn't work, and you need to see some sort of. I'm all for long-term appointments, but you need to see some sort of progression, and for that to happen twice in consecutive seasons, to me, shows that there's only regression, not going forward. Unfortunately, we're going backwards. So it was the right decision, but again, it was a one that I didn't think they're going to make as well.
Now looking to the future, this whole stream has been about who do we want to see as Danny Cowley and Nicky Cowley's successor.
Chris Wilde is the name that would get Pompey fans excited, and obviously he didn't rule it out. There was a piece in the news yesterday, didn't rule out coming to Fratton. But yeah, I feel like that's an appointment that it could really reap rewards, but also he's had issues in his previous 2 clubs with ownerships, and our owners, unless there's a real change of tact, I don't think they're going to go and splash cash anytime soon. So I can't really see that being a perfect match made in heaven, if I'm honest. And then obviously there's Liam Manning's been tossed around as well. I feel like this one for me is the highest risk, but potentially the highest rewards appointment. Obviously, he had a dreadful record at MK Dons this season. There's no getting around that. But before that, he was literally tipped with championship jobs, a QPR job. He nearly got that. So last season he worked miracles for MK Dons, and I feel that you can put some of that down to him maybe not being backed, losing the likes of Scott Twine and Harry Darling is going to have a big impact, and not replacing them properly. But also they have underachieved, so that would be a risk. And if he couldn't get to tune out the players, and he continue that same form that he's with MK Dons, Pompey will get relegated. So that's why that's a big risky one. But I do think it potentially has the biggest rewards because of how the style of play implements and the long-term impacts that could have.
And Max Dale said, if we don't get Chris, I think Richardson would be perfect. He has a history with the team and got promoted last season, so he's used to this league and got out of it not long ago. Again, I remind Max, who might not have been in the stream at the start, but we have various 4-0 sources suggesting that Liam Richardson will not be the next Pompey manager. So we're using that as a little bit of an exclusive. But we're thinking that might not be the case. Tom for new manager, in my opinion, as I said the other night, I'd much rather stay this side of the line than head on over there. I have absolutely zero credentials to be manager, only having sort of watched the team in and out for ages. Look at this. Everyone's delighted that we've been joined by a man in orange, fresh off BBC Radio Solent, everybody. Brendan, good evening. How are you?
Evening, boys. Yeah, I'm all good. So it's been a busy media week for myself, but no, it's good to be back on the 4-0 channel, boys.
It has been a busy week, and it's only almost less than 72 hours, Brendan. We're sort of at almost the 70-hour mark now. So, well, how would you reflect on the last 70 hours? What have your emotions been like?
Oh well, obviously, as we noticed straight after the sacking, it took a big hit on a fair few of us with Danny being fired. I think slowly I've finally kind of accepted it now and realised that the board aren't going to change their mind now. I'm not going to come out and apologise, being like, "Oh, sorry, made a mistake. Danny's coming back." But yeah, I'm happy to move on now and looking forward to Spurs away and Simon Bassey and Zesh Rahman. What are they going to do? It's going to be really interesting to see. Is there going to be a bounce back?
Simon and Zesh. Simon and Zesh. Yeah,
It's got a ring to that one.
It's got a little bit of a ring to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the whole stream so far has been about who will be Pompey's next manager, Brendan. I'll update everyone on the poll. There's very little change. Lee Bradbury has gone up a whole percentage point. He's now up to 4% of the share of the vote. Anthony Barry is then next up with 7%. Then Liam Richardson drops down to 29%, with Chris Wilder leading the way on 60%. So I mean, we said this the other day, didn't we? That the poll decides everything that happens at Pompey. So looks like Chris Wilder's going to be in for the job. Brendan, would you approve of that one?
Oh, definitely. What I'd compare getting Wilder to is asking the pretty girl out of school to the prom and her actually saying yes. So that's what it's going to be. It's getting the outside. Well, the outsider, really, in the fact of he's the furthest reach we can get for a manager of the highest credentials, really, to come in. And by the looks of it, obviously the fans want it. That's very clear all over social media. But it's thinking like, because Danny was a head coach, wasn't he? Are we signing a head coach or are we signing a manager? Because Anthony Barry, he's going to be the head coach, isn't he? Yes. He won't be manager because everywhere he's been head coach.
Yeah.
And other ways, I think Richardson was at Pompey. Was he assistant manager or was he head coach to Paul Cook? He would have been a head coach, wouldn't he?
What we do know is that Danny Cowley was definitely head coach, wasn't he? He was. Yeah. He's never a manager, and I wonder whether that's a similar vein. Jack said, "I wouldn't be surprised if we go for a young, unproven coach from a higher league side, and I don't think I'd be against it either." And I was going to ask you actually, Barney. Obviously, we should say at this point, it's very clear that we make this point, so everyone listen up for this, but the club aren't commenting on the process, and so of course it's tough to rule in and it's tough to rule out, and we should say that, of course. There are a few absolute no-nos, of course. We know that Neil Warnock's probably the one that we would not expect to happen. I'd also say, I know a couple of people have mentioned it, but Dean Smith I think is also an unlikely target from a Pompey point of view. I know you mentioned that Chris Wilder would be the man, but is there a little concern from you that maybe, seeing as she is so pretty, that she might say no to the prom, in Brendan's words?
It's a long way to come down, isn't it? To go from
Lee Bradbury's around the corner.
That's a big promotion for him. But no, yeah, I think, like you've said, it's a long way to change. He's probably going to be wanting maybe Championship or even Premiership. You know, he could be the kind of guy that like an Everton would bring in to stop them from going down from the Prem when they get rid of Lampard next week. That's where I could see him ending up if he turns us down.
Okay. Reece? Is he still with us? I don't know. He might not be. Is he still here? No, he just looks like he's waiting for a bus. Aaron, we'll come to you. What do you think?
It'd be good. It just depends on how the owners and Cullen sell the club, because the thing is, if they can say, right, if you can get us into the Championship, we'll give you a so many year deal and everything, and then we'll give you the purse strings to actually pay for more. But you've got to remember, financial fair play is involved as well. So I don't know if the buying and making a manager's wages really, really expensive, does that affect the financial fair play? Or are we still on a shoestring budget? Yes, we've got players, but we've got one space available. But to get players in, you've got to sell, and then you've got to buy. But it's just like, if he doesn't come in until the end of the transfer window, he's then stuck with this team. So he's not actually going to get his own players in. So you're in a catch-22 situation. It's like, you're good if you're not. Shut up. Sorry. All the dogs go off at the same time. Yeah, so it's difficult. It'd be lovely to get him in, but even I would like a manager with Championship level credentials, because then they know how to compete and then they know how to get the best out of our players. So it's really, really difficult.
We'll come back to you, Aaron. Don't worry, we'll come back to you. Barney, we mentioned this before we went live, didn't we? Ash has said, anyone take Paul Cook back?
His football wasn't the most exciting, but it got us promoted, and he managed some players that now look at the elite level they're playing at. Burgee, Ender Stevens and the like, Matt Clark, look where they're all playing now. Burgee rocking it in the Europa League. Could he bring some players back like Burgee? Like, I think he'd love to come back. You never know. I wouldn't object to it. There's certainly names that are higher up the list that I would object to a lot more.
But perhaps maybe something that probably wouldn't happen, Brendan. I would have thought.
Yeah, I'm not particularly interested in having Paul Cook back. I think when you start bringing back old managers and stuff like that, you might be taking that step back and sort of going off the nostalgia feel, personally. But
Neil Allen would go into hiding.
Oh yeah, yeah. He wouldn't be at the opening press conference. He wouldn't be invited. But yeah, it's Paul Cook's a funny one. He really is, because obviously he's done well at Chesterfield. Does he want to finish there? Does he want to move back down south? Because remember, before he left Pompey, he said he wouldn't leave Pompey except for the Liverpool job, and then a week later he's gone. So yeah, I agree with Leo. He won't come back, unfortunately.
Aaron's just replying to what Dylan asked about how many pets does he have. So 2 dogs, 2 cats, about 50 fish, Aaron.
Yeah.
In that one tank?
I've got.
Oh, don't get him started again about the tank. Don't get him started again about the tank. Alex has said Wilder would show huge ambition, which perhaps the fans would want from the Eisners, but do like Liam Richardson. It's just perhaps whether he has the experience. Brennan, I don't think we've asked you yet about the kind of the ambition question. I don't know whether you were discussing it on the radio earlier or not. What would you say to the kind of the question about whether there is going to be either the cash to achieve what we want to achieve in terms of bringing in this big name that you can put up in lights as a League One manager that everyone elsewhere will actually sit up and look at, or do you think actually the intent started from the sacking of Danny on Monday night, and now the Eisners are then going to back this up and go with a big name? What do you think?
Well, what I've taken from this, if they've sacked Cowley now, and we look at it on the performance basis, and they've sacked him on this, and their goal is still to get promoted this season, that makes you think that there is intent to go out and get. What is that?
I know what that was.
To go out and get a good manager, and hopefully they will spend the cash on that. I saw an article today with Andrew Cullen saying that that the playing budget has taken a hit in the sacking of Cowley. You're right there, Reese.
Sorry, I don't. Is Reese with us now? Are you with us, mate? Reese, or are we?
Yeah.
Oh, Reese is with us. Amazing.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm with you. I changed to my phone.
Yes, that's fine, mate. I'm very grateful for your efforts to get back with us. Yes, I did see that, Brendan, and I was interested to see that, because surely that can't have been the intention with sacking Danny, is that the playing budget would take a hit, because we wanted to improve, didn't we? Surely, do you not feel the same?
No, I feel exactly the same. I think why have we gone this route of doing it? They're gonna say if you want to sack Cowley, don't take it out of the playing budget, because you've told us you want to get promoted. You know, granted, probably there's enough source in this team to get us up, but you know, we need to add to it because they haven't been performing. You know.
Reese, can I ask you about the last 3 transfer windows that Danny and Nicky have had, and the concern from my point of view, and we discussed this on our crazy hectic night on Monday, which I'm glad this one's been a little bit more relaxed and chilled, and we can actually have a conversation between us rather than just be all over the place and having to react to this news live. But my concern was, and reflecting, I don't think we made enough of it in the stream. The issue would be the fact that there have been those 3 transfer windows from Danny and Nicky, and actually every single one of the players, what it be 22, 23 players in that setup, had Danny and Nicky's fingertips all over them. So you look at the keeper, Josh Griffiths, who's had previous with Danny and Nicky. Joe Morrell was obviously their little man. You know, there's other players that, you know, Sean Raggett's worked with them before at Lincoln. Tyler Walker's another one. I know that's kind of, that's besides the point, isn't it? But you know what I'm trying to say. All of them, and even if they weren't, they were targets identified that Danny and Nicky wanted to bring in. So to say that there was the unrest in the dressing room is even more concerning, because why on earth would you stop playing for a manager that brought you into the place in the first place?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with that, actually, because when you reflect on it, normally you find managers that come in that, you start relationships from fresh from other clubs. Like you go to the Premier League and get youngsters to come in on loan that you've not worked with before. Sometimes it works straight away with managers, sometimes it don't. But you're right. The philosophy that they had when they came in, they picked out players that have been successful with them in the past and brought them along with us. So actually to reflect on it and hear that obviously there has been fallings out between the managers and the players is even more alarming, knowing that they've had good connections in the past.
And Barney, how quickly is the Fratton faithful going to get back on board with this group of players if all of a sudden you're sat there thinking, right, okay, the manager's gone, but this same group that were underperforming for a number of weeks, unacceptably underperforming at that, which has been, they've even admitted it themselves, the players, that it hasn't been good enough. How on earth do you get the fans back on side after a run of poor form that we've seen?
I think having a game coming up at the weekend where you're going to have 9,000 of us in a stadium that next to no one's going to have been to before, where we've got no expectations of getting a result, that everyone's going to be behind the team on the day. It's all going to be about sort of flying the flag for Pompey, isn't it? You just know that it's going to be loud. We're going to drown out all of the Spurs fans. Their wall that is bigger than the whole of Fratton Park will be drowned by our end. So I think that having 9,000 fans chanting on for players, that should be enough to get the players on board, to remind them what it can be like to have us on their side.
Absolutely. Aaron, you've been to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium before, as you pop your hand up to suggest you had. What can we expect and how are you feeling? And we'll use this last 10 minutes to look ahead to the Tottenham game, which I know we're all really excited for. Before I ask you that question, just get a few more of these in. Marcus said we need a manager with championship experience minimum, in my opinion. I think you were saying that on Monday night, actually, Aaron, because that's the division where we're aiming to be in and stay in. If we go for a lower league or a League One level, then I think it shows Pompey's lack of ambition long term. We need to get out of this League One ASAP and stay out. Harry said, I feel like Cowley did his best with what he had, but unfortunately it wasn't good enough. Dylan also went that the form has been terrible. We played poorly against Forest Green and were fortunate to win. I don't even want to go into Morecambe or Wycombe. Neither do we. And there's another one. Reese mentioned Mick's Burger Van. Just bumped into Zidane. He said contract was signed. He started against Tottenham. Then he headbutt me. So there we go. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. Aaron, back to what we can expect from this weekend. It's fast approaching. It's Thursday night. And we don't normally do Thursday night lives, but I thought given the zeitgeist of Pompey at the moment, I thought we'd jump on and have a bit of discussion. I'm really glad we did. What's your thoughts on the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as a whole, and how do you think Pompey fare going into this one?
Well, the stadium itself is just so impressive. Absolutely, it's $1 billion stadium, state of the art. They've got their own brewery as well, which is fantastic. Even the food is just different level, absolutely different level there. It's like they've got their own chefs and everything. But you go inside and it is awesome. Where the away fans sit and everything, it's so impressive. You can have 18,500 just in that away stand. It's just wow. So, yeah, as long as we all turn up, sing our hearts out, and all I want to see from the team is just effort. I just want them to show up, even if we get beat. I don't care if we get beat. I just want all the players to put in a shift, get in them tackles, make yourself, because it's going to be, if we're going to get rid of some of the players that we've got, it's their exhibition game now to actually put themselves on the map so other teams can come in and get them. And it's if we can get rid of a couple and buy in some new faces, which Cullum's already said that he's actually got his eye on some players. So the manager, whoever comes in, is not going to have a say on that. So if we can shift off a couple, get rid of some of the loan players that haven't done it for us and get in other free agents or loan players. But all I want to see is the players putting in a shift. I don't care if we get beat, honestly, don't care. But as long as we actually take it to them, we should, in theory, be played off that park. But I just want us to actually just turn up and have a good day. And then it will just show us that it was the players and not Cowley.
Well, Reese, will Saturday be a case of damage limitation for you?
It's a tricky one because you've already mentioned about obviously going to Tottenham with Simon in charge. I think the occasion itself needs to be separated to what's been happening of late, because it's going to be a nice day out for all fans. Like we've already said, there's 9,000 of us going. We're all going to enjoy ourselves for the day. It's a cup game at the end of the day as well. and then straight back onto the league. Bolton away, isn't it? Next in the league, is that right? I'm going there with no intention of winning, like obviously 4-5-0 because I'm a realistic. But I think that we've got no pressures now to perform under the Cowleys for the players. But yes, it is time for the players to now stand out and take responsibility for some of the performances they've been putting in, which is.
Oh.
No. It's frozen.
We nearly got the tail end of that, but we'll get. Oh, and he's gone sideways now. So the good news is we had a few comments earlier on to asking where Andrew was, and I'm delighted to say that we've kept you waiting, but he is finally here, everybody, ladies and gents. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Andrew.
Hello, children. How are we?
Hello, Dad.
Right, Dad.
We've got about 5 minutes to go.
Oh well, I won't say too much. Just good evening, everyone. It's lovely to see you all.
Who will be Pompey's next manager?
Well, I was hoping it was going to be Danny Cowley, but there we are. That's life, isn't it? We move on. Did you tell them what I said earlier off camera?
I probably think it's not a good idea if we do. But you said a lot of things off camera.
No,
I said
what I would like to have happened was Danny Cowley to stay on as head coach and us get rid of some of the coaching staff, keep Nicky and Danny, and put a manager in there, figurehead manager in to do the directing bit. That was what I would have done.
Not that we already had that in the shape of Richie Hughes. You're talking.
No, I'm not talking
Richie
Hughes. No, I'm talking manager and Richie Hughes goes, and a lot of the staff go that are sort of the trainers on the pitch. You know, the goalkeeper, coach, and that sort of stuff. And Danny.
So all of Danny's team, you want to get rid of them?
Well, no, not all of them, just a few of them, and then to keep Danny and
Lorenzo.
That would have been my solution.
Yeah, don't get rid of Lorenzo. Lorenzo's class.
That would have been my solution. That's all I'm saying.
Have you just been having the interview at Portsmouth for the job? Max would like to know.
Yes, I have, and I've actually turned it down because it's only $500,000 a year.
Right, and you're on more on Fournilwrittenalloverit, are you?
4-0's paying me more than that.
You actually contracted, yeah. Could you come in a little bit, just to your left? That'd be great. I'd be grateful for that.
Here we are.
There was another one that I wanted to throw your way. I don't know where's it gone. Oh, here we go. JJ Johnson said, I'm a Pompey fan from Cyprus. I'll be again in Fratton one day. I prefer to work again with Kenny Jackett, but he's good in Leighton now. He wasn't a good manager.
He's not in Leighton now either. He's at Gillingham now, isn't he?
I think he's moved on. Jake has said, good evening, Thomas. I hope you and the gang are well. We're still absolutely gutted, aren't we? And just one more word from you then, Andrew, before we go back around the group. I think we were yet to speak to Brendan about the expectations for Spurs. Reece is still having issues. How much are you looking forward to Saturday, and what do you think is going to be the outcome?
Don't really care, really. I'm just looking forward to the day out. I would like us to lose that game 2 or 3-0 and walk away with our heads held high. Just concentrate on the league. That's what I'd like to happen. I don't even want to replay or anything. Don't want anything. Just go there for the day out.
Seti said, Andrew for Gaffer, would you take that?
No.
Didn't think so. No,
not enough money.
I don't think we'd want to see him. Jack has asked, will anyone be appointed before Saturday? I believe the go ahead for Simon Bassey's been given to take us to Spurs on Saturday. And a big shout out for him. I said it at the top of the stream. We should probably do one more as well to say that. And Brendan, we'll leave this to you. But Simon Bassey stepping up. I know he's been Barnet manager before, but this is a big moment for him, going all the way to Spurs with this team. Maybe one last hurrah in memory of Danny and Nicky being in charge, perhaps. And what are your thoughts ahead of Tottenham?
Well, yeah, with Simon Bassey, all the best, actually. I'm right behind him and Zesh, and hopefully they can do a job for us. You know, they've been put in charge in the caretaker roles, and we know Zesh will then step back down to the academy when the new manager comes in. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You know, it's going to be a great day out, early start. It's going to be an early finish as well, isn't it? Obviously, it's only a 12:30 kickoff, so it's a nice get home by 7 maybe.
Barn?
Can I point out that some of the football that Zesh has the academy playing is beautiful. We've been to a couple of the sort of Hampshire Cup games where the academy team have represented the first 11. We went to the game a couple of weeks ago against Andover. Yes, Andover are Wessex League One, so a fair few steps down. But nonetheless, they're grown blokes. And the Pompey kids ran round them. Ran rings, it was 5-0 in the end. Some really, really good football. We saw some names there that have played in the EFL Trophy for us. I wouldn't be shocked to see a few of them play on Tuesday at Bolton.
Yes. And I should also point out, just to build on that excellent point, and I'm really glad that Barney brought that up, there is a series called Premier League Stories, which features Zesh, and it is well worth a watch if you want to get a little bit of an insight into what we might be expecting for Saturday. Jack has said, new manager before Tuesday. I would anticipate it would be before the league game away at Bolton on Saturday. I know that is the aim from within the club, to get someone appointed ready to take that team up there to take the last 24 league games. I don't think they'll be looking any further than that, because then you're down to 23, and then the task is even more dubious and challenging to get promoted, perhaps. Right, we'll go around the that's our hour up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm terribly sorry to tell you, but thank you for joining us. We'll go around the loop. Aaron, what's your score prediction? I know you said you no, I think you might have mentioned it actually before did you say it before we went away from you, or did you not manage to squeeze one in?
No, I didn't say a score prediction, but I don't care what I would say it's going to be 3-1. We're going to score 1 goal, and it's going to be a team effort, just like it used to be at the beginning of the season. I don't care if we win. I don't care if we lose. Well, I do care if we lose, because we lost. But as long as the team turn up, I think Bassi, if he's successful and he beats Tottenham on Saturday and he wins on Tuesday, you never know. He might actually be asked to take the reins for the rest of the season and then get a manager in the summer. There you go. There's another spanner in the works there.
That is a big old spanner, Aaron.
You've been drinking that fish water, haven't you, Aaron?
That's just like Andrew days.
Thanks for
That's a bold claim.
Thanks for bringing the spanner along, Aaron. Appreciate that.
Sorry, Andrew.
Barn, what's your score?
I can see it being 2.
Stop that, Brenda. I didn't mention your ears, did I?
That's
right,
Brendan's tribute to the FA Cup, isn't it? No. Okay.
Right, come on, Barney, get us back on track.
2 or 3-0. Sadly, I don't see us the way we've been playing lately. Irrelevant of the Cowleys being gone, I can't see us playing well enough to score against a team like Tottenham. Irrelevant of what team they put out. I don't see it being an absolute drubbing. The fact that they won 4-0 last night before, I think they can then rest Kane and Son. They don't need to get them playing to get some goals. They've got their goals against Palace, so I see them playing their second string team, but I still see them getting 2 or 3 against us.
Harvey White to score, perhaps. Chris has gone for a 1-0 Pompey. To be honest, it's got 4-0 written all over it. I don't know which way you're going with that. I can probably guess that. Alex would like a Chris Wilder fist pump from Andrew. Give us a Chris Wilder fist pump. There we go.
I'll tell you what I really would like to happen, though. Really, if we do get past Tottenham, which we're not going to, let's face it, we're not. But if we did, by some quirk of nature and some
don't say something silly.
Rebound from what's happened
Don't
this
say
week,
something silly.
Wouldn't it be great to get Southampton the next round? If they...
I thought there was something silly coming. There we go.
Now, well, we're on that trajectory of change, and they're on that downward spiral. Wouldn't it be lovely to get them there? Knock them out the cup. It'd be funny, wouldn't it?
Thank you for sharing that. Legend Sean Mead just said 3-1 Pompey. Jake's going for a 3-0 to the Spurs. Dylan will say will be pandemonium in the away end if we score to make it 1-0 or 1-1. Brendan, you have the... Oh, no, Andrew, what's your score prediction for Spurs on Saturday?
I really think, Tom, we're in for a tonkin. I think it'd be 4-0 Tottenham, if I'm honest. And I really do believe it doesn't matter if they put out their third team, does it? I mean, they're a great outfit. Big pitch, big occasion, sold out. Their end to be sold out as well. There'll be a noisy lot. They'll be up for it even more because there's 9,000 of us there. So it's one thing I would say, boys, is just be careful around the Seven Sisters area. Just make yourselves a bit scarce because it is a bit dodgy up there sometimes. Just need to be a little bit careful.
Does that apply for everybody in the stream as well? Who might be going on Saturday?
Just be very careful. Got to be careful as well because them up the road are playing at the same time as well, and they're in London as well.
They're south. We'll be all right.
We don't worry about
Luckily,
them too much. We don't worry about them too much. Mate.
They all turn around and run the other direction, Aaron. So don't worry about that.
Not them we're worried about, mate.
Just quickly, we'll go through a couple more score predictions. 2-2 draw, 1-0 Pompey. Hayward Chapel Limbs would be lovely. 1-0 says G. Who is Anthony Barry? Yes, I had to do it. Oh, that's Neil Warnock's joined us for the stream, everybody. Welcome, Neil. We'll see if we're going to see you again. Who knows? Dylan said, Andrew, can you come and pick me up from Seven Sisters Tube Station? I'll feel protected with you. Dale,
Unfortunately, I won't be anywhere near Seven Sisters.
Well, we are parking on some random bloke's driveway somewhere in North London. So, we're Andrew won't be anywhere near it. Brendan, finish us off with a nice score prediction for Tottenham and make it positive, if you will.
Well, if last season Cambridge beat Tottenham away, beat Newcastle, sorry. Cambridge beat Newcastle away, so
Barney was
anything can happen. The magic of the FA Cup, I'm going to say 2-0 Pompey. But Harvey White is going to play a great game, I think. I think we're going to have our hands full with Harvey White in the midfield.
Did well the other night. I remember watching. The first half was really boring, but second half, it just, and he came on for I don't know if it was 15 minutes or something, but he did really well. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And thank you to you two at home for your company this evening. Fantastic numbers once again for this discussion. I'm glad we got so many points across. Thank you to everyone who made their voices heard. Thank you to the gents on the stream. Thank you for joining us briefly, Andrew. Really appreciate that. Hope you
busy at the gym.
I was about to say have a safe trip to Spurs, but I'll probably be joining you for it for some. Something tells me I might be there with you. We'll all be there with you and the 8,880 of you too. We look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you for watching. Go and watch a Chelsea Man City game. Keep the faith. We'll see you Saturday, and of course, play at Pompey.
Take care, boys.